Imagine waking up 40,000 years ago. No supermarkets, no refrigerators, no processed food, and not a single grain of table salt. Yet somehow, your ancestors survived, not for days, not for months, but for hundreds of thousands of years. Here's what makes this so strange. Today, doctors tell us that sodium is essential for life. Without it, your muscles stop working properly. Your nerves can't send signals. Your heart struggles to beat normally. In severe cases, a lack of sodium can even become life-threatening. So here's the question. If ancient humans had no salt shakers, no salt mines, and no grocery stores, why didn't they die from salt deficiency? The answer completely changes the way we think about prehistoric survival. Because the truth is, ancient humans weren't actually living without salt. They were simply getting it from places most modern people would never think to look. To understand how, we need to travel back to the Ice Age. Picture an endless landscape of forests, grasslands, rivers, and towering mountains. A small group of hunter-gatherers has been tracking a herd of wild deer for 2 days. They're exhausted, hungry, cold. Finally, one hunter releases a spear. The animal collapses. For us, this might seem like the end of the hunt. For them, it was only the beginning. Modern people usually value the large cuts of meat first. Steaks, roasts, fillets. But prehistoric humans thought very differently. The first organs they removed weren't always the ones we'd expect. The liver, the kidneys, the heart, even the blood itself. Why? Because these parts contained something incredibly valuable. Not just calories, not just protein, but minerals their bodies desperately needed, including sodium. This surprises many people. Most imagine that ancient humans suffered from constant salt shortages. In reality, fresh meat naturally contains sodium. Blood contains sodium. Organs contain sodium. Even bone marrow provides important minerals. A single successful hunt supplied far more than just food. It supplied essential electrolytes. These natural salt licks formed where underground minerals reached the surface. Long before humans discovered salt mining, nature had already revealed where sodium could be found. Hunters quickly learned that following thirsty animals often led directly to these mineral-rich locations. And those discoveries would eventually change human history forever. But natural salt licks were only part of the story. What scientists discovered next was even more surprising. Ancient humans didn't hunt randomly. Over thousands of years, they became experts at understanding animal behavior. They noticed that during certain seasons, entire herds traveled incredible distances to reach mineral-rich springs. Instead of searching endlessly for prey, hunters simply waited. The animals came to them. These salt licks became some of the earliest natural hunting grounds in human history. One successful hunt could feed an entire family for days. And more importantly, it replenished the minerals they had lost through sweat, movement, and survival. But here's where things become truly fascinating. Not every ancient human lived near salt licks. Some groups survived in dense forests. Others crossed frozen tundras. Some settled along rivers. Others lived beside the sea. So how did all of them avoid sodium deficiency? The answer depended entirely on where they lived. For people living near the coast, the ocean solved the problem. Fish naturally contain sodium. Shellfish contain even more. Seaweed absorbs minerals directly from seawater. In some coastal communities, almost every meal provided enough sodium without anyone ever seeing a crystal of table salt. Far inland, life looked completely different. There, large game animals became the primary source, and, unlike modern supermarket meat, prehistoric hunters rarely wasted anything. Just after a successful hunt, the organs were carefully removed. The blood was often collected. Bone marrow was extracted by breaking open the bones with heavy stones. Even the skin, tendons, and fat had valuable uses. Nothing was wasted. To modern eyes, this might seem unusual. But to Ice Age hunters, it was simply survival. And it worked remarkably well. In fact, many anthropologists believe that early hunter-gatherers were far less likely to suffer from sodium deficiency than people imagine today. Why? Because wild animals have a very different mineral balance than heavily processed modern foods. Their entire diet came from natural ecosystems. And when humans ate those animals, many essential minerals were passed directly into the human diet. But then, everything changed. Around 12,000 years ago, people in several parts of the world began farming. Instead of eating mostly meat, they started relying more heavily on grains like wheat, barley, millet, and rice. This was one of humanity's greatest inventions, but it created a completely unexpected problem. Grains contain very little sodium. Suddenly, people could no longer depend on their everyday food to meet all of their mineral needs. For the first time in history, finding extra salt became increasingly important. And that's when salt transformed from a simple mineral into one of the most valuable resources on Earth. As farming spread across the world, salt stopped being just something people needed. It became something people fought over. Entire villages were built beside natural salt springs. Ancient roads were carved through mountains simply to transport it. Some civilizations became rich because they controlled salt. Others went to war trying to take it. In ancient Rome, salt was so valuable that historians believe it even influenced the word salary, which comes from the Latin word sal, meaning salt. Without refrigerators, salt became humanity's greatest food preservation technology. Fresh meat spoiled within days. But cover it with salt, and it could last for months. Fish caught near the coast could now be transported hundreds of miles inland. Armies could travel farther. Cities could grow larger. Trade expanded across continents. One simple white mineral quietly helped build civilizations. But here's the twist that surprises most people. If salt became so valuable, does that mean prehistoric hunter-gatherers were constantly craving it? Not necessarily. Modern diets are very different from ancient ones. Today, many people eat highly processed foods packed with refined carbohydrates, sugar, preservatives, and enormous amounts of added sodium. In fact, the average person in many countries consumes far more sodium than health organizations recommend. Our ancestors lived in a completely different nutritional world. They were constantly active. They hunted. They gathered. They walked for miles every day. Their food came directly from nature: wild game, fish, shellfish, seasonal fruits, roots, nuts, and edible plants. Because their diets contained no processed food, scientists believe their bodies maintained a very different balance of minerals and water. Their sodium needs were met naturally through the foods they ate and the environments they lived in. Of course, that didn't mean every ancient human had an easy life. During long droughts, harsh winters, or failed hunting seasons, mineral shortages could still happen. Some groups almost certainly suffered from poor nutrition. Others were forced to migrate in search of better resources. Prehistoric life was never easy. But the idea that humans somehow survived for thousands of years with absolutely no sodium simply isn't true. The real story is far more fascinating. Nature had already hidden sodium almost everywhere. Inside wild animals, inside fish, inside shellfish, inside natural mineral springs, and even inside certain plants growing in mineral-rich soils. Ancient humans didn't survive because they ignored biology. They survived because they understood nature far better than most people imagine. Long before chemistry, long before nutrition science, And long before anyone knew what sodium even was, they had already learned one of survival's greatest lessons. If you understand nature, nature provides what you need. And that simple knowledge helped carry humanity through thousands of generations until civilization finally discovered salt as one of its greatest treasures. If you enjoyed uncovering one of history's biggest survival mysteries, don't forget to subscribe, because every week we explore the incredible science, forgotten technologies, and hidden survival secrets that shaped human history. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next adventure.